I'm so delighted to have Rick Steves with us today, live from your home. Rick, is that where you are?
That's right. Thanks, Stephen. It's so good to be with you. I'm here in Edmonds, a little town about half hour north of Seattle.
That's great. And you and I have gotten to know each other via performance. I, of course, was a huge fan growing up, so it was very fun to perform with you in Toledo and with the Toledo Symphony, and that was your show where you arrived with some of the same material we're going to talk about today. And you presented to me this idea that you actually had a kind of a relationship with your local symphony about the size of Dearborn, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it was so fun performing with you in Toledo. And we've sort of come up with a plan that lets us offer this exciting merging together of travel and music and history and appreciation of all that in a package that is accessible for any symphonies, big or little, all around the country.
And we're excited to be kind of the first of the Symphony in a Suitcase thing where, again, you are offering up all this wonderful footage to orchestras that maybe couldn't hire, couldn't fly you in with all
Yeah,
the travel demands, Rick, with
it
the
takes,
private jet, the caviar.
yeah. Well, it takes 3 days at a minimum of my time to go to a symphony. And my hope is that there would be enough symphonies in this country to keep me on the road all the time. But of course, this is just a fun sideline of mine. I'm very busy making my TV shows and researching, writing my guidebooks and organizing our tour program here at Rick Steves Europe. But I just love music. I love live classical music. And I love every chance I get to inspire people to reach out and better understand the context of things so they can better enjoy their sightseeing. And you can do your sightseeing traveling around Europe, or you can do your sightseeing musically just going into your hometown concert hall and enjoying a symphony. And you know that because you're busy sharing that all the time. And with you and me, we're going to be mixing my three favorite things, travel, music, and history, into a wonderful, entertaining, and I hope inspiring evening.
Was that the impetus for this program? Was it something where a bell went off in your head and as you were doing one of your many travels that you do, but was there some place that you thought to yourself, boy, I think I could bring music into the mix here?
Yeah. Stephen, I've always taught travel, and for ever since I was a kid, I've been teaching travel. That's the only job I've ever had. And if I have a chance to, if there's a piano on the stage and I can illustrate a point on the piano, I like to remind people art is not just for your eyes, it's for your ears too. And as we travel around Europe, we're looking at stuff, but we're also hearing art. And I can remind people, for example, that art goes through the ages. You've got, you'd have romantic, you'd have impressionistic, you'd have neoclassical, you've had Baroque. All of that goes through the ages together. And the different kinds of art hold hands as they walk. So I like to just think that, yeah, you got Baroque music, and then you got romantic music, and then you got impressionistic music, and then you got abstract music, just like you have the same sort of evolution with painting or architecture. And so I would demonstrate that in the piano as I was showing Mozart or Chopin or Debussy, and it was kind of a cool thing to demonstrate that way. And then as a tour guide, I'm always concerned about ethnocentrism. We think we're the norm, we're the best. The world's on a pyramid with us on top, and everybody wishes they could be there with us. And when we travel, we realize, no, we're not the norm. We're fine, but other people have their pyramids too. And I wanted to demonstrate that. And because I remember if Americans listen to John Philip Sousa or Aaron Copland, or America the Beautiful, their hearts go pitter patter musically. And when you go to Norway, they don't really care that much about Aaron Copland. They care about Edvard Grieg. And when you go to the Czech Republic, they care about Smetana. And when you go to Vienna, everybody's doing the Strauss waltzes. And you go to Italy and you got a Verdi opera. And you go to Germany and you got Wagner. This is so much fun. And then another thing I noticed was in the late 1800s, there was the Romantic movement. And Romantic music was a champion of Romantic nationalism. And in the 1860s and so all over, countries were finding out, are we an independent country? Are we one country or scattered or whatever? In the same, as we talk about in the concert, in the same decade the United States was fighting our Civil War, the 1860s, Germany and Italy were fighting wars to find out, are they one country or a bunch of little countries? And just like we decided we're one country, Italy and Germany decided to unite all the Italian-speaking and German-speaking people into those nations that were now having their place on the map. And Romantic music from this era served as like a bugle call on the battlefield as these nationalists won their independence. It's so stirring to me. And it's so interesting that nearly all the music we'll be playing in our concert is from the same generation, and each of them was cheering on these countries as they were winning their freedom. So I get to set the specifics as the tour guide on the stage, and then I get to roll beautiful images of that country from our TV show, and you get to conduct the orchestra as they take us musically to 7 different countries around Europe. So we're reminding ourselves that different people get excited about their own music, just like we get excited about our music. We start in America, then we go to 7 countries in Europe, and then we, after a big grand Beethoven finale, celebrating the European Union, whose motto is United in Diversity, then we fly home and we have a wonderful homecoming celebration with John Philip Sousa. And I just think it's a fun concert. And it's we sort of innovated that here in my little town. I'm looking out my window at my junior high school, and across the Puget Sound I can see the Olympic Mountains. And right here, 10 or 12 years ago, a friend of mine who's the conductor of our local symphony and I got together and we made this concert. And it was a big hit. And it reinvigorated the audience for our small town orchestra, brought a lot of young people into the concert hall. It brought a lot of people in who had never been there before, who suddenly appreciated live classical music. And I thought, this is really, really a beautiful celebration. And I let it kind of fade away. And then a few years later, I was given a talk in Boston at what's the big symphony hall that the Boston Pops performs in? I think it's
Oh
called
yeah. It's
Historic
Symphony Hall.
Symphony Hall. And in my green room was a little letter to me from the creative director of the Boston Pops. And he invited me to give that same concert from Little Edmonds at the Boston Pops. I thought, whoa. And we did it. We sold out 2 concerts and it was a big hit. And since then, I've been enjoying going all over the country doing this, as I enjoyed working with you in Toledo. And now I'm realizing I'd like to make this available to every orchestra. There must be 1,000 orchestras in this country, and a lot of them don't have the money, the budget. They're volunteer orchestras and so on. And I want to make this accessible to everybody. And so we're doing it with me on the big screen. And with your help, we're making this, we're calling it a symphony in a suitcase. And people can just download the digital assets. And you got me there virtually, and we have a wonderful evening. And that's what we'll have in Dearborn coming up.
And you've said a little bit about what we're going to see and experience during the evening. Can you tell us a little bit about, I mean, some of what you just talked about is some of what you talk about in the evening, the connection between nationalism or movements historically in a country and how they tie into this music. Can you tell us a little bit about also what we're going to see? Is this some of your kind of favorite highlights from around the world? How did you choose the imagery?
You know, we've got about 150 TV shows that I've shot over the last 30 years for public television. And that's a lot of footage. And if you can imagine cutting Europe into 120 half-hour slices. I've got a bunch of specials beyond basically here's Copenhagen, here's Berlin, here's Dublin. But we've got 120 of these episodes, and it covers all of Europe. And what I've been able to do with my team here is to say, okay, this is Romantic era Italy. Let's get some, there's just beautiful shots of Italy, but there's also beautiful examples of Romantic tourism in Italy in the 1800s, and paintings from these wars of independence and wars of unification. And we've put together a montage of these kind of images, taking you there visually. And it's so much fun to be looking at the wonder of the Danube River and the Strauss waltzes and the venerable views of Vienna and the Habsburgs, and then we go to England, and we got all the pomp and circumstance as we hear Elgar's pomp and circumstance. And we go to Norway and Grieg and his morning mood on the fjords. And when you glide down the fjord on a beautiful morning and you get up close to the waterfalls, and then you find a village with log cabins and a stav church and women in their dirndls, and then you splice in some romantic paintings of that same fjord and those same dirndls and those same stav churches from the 1800s, and you get a sense of Norway's, how nature sort of inspires Norwegians as part of their passion and their patriotism. It really complements the music in a beautiful way. And to me, that's a fun thing from a artistic point of view, is to complement the music with dramatic scenery, whether it's people or art or nature, that pumps up the beauty of the music. And as a tour guide, I get a couple of minutes before each piece to do what a good tour guide does, and that is establish the context. I'm really into this idea when you travel that the more you understand your sightseeing, the more you'll enjoy it. A lot of people just, fumble around Europe and, oh, that's big and that's old and that's sparkly, but they don't understand who paid for it and why and what was going on. I, as a tour guide, like to raise the bar so my people can get more out of their sightseeing. It's a beautiful thing when it's done right. So I get to do that. I get to demonstrate the value of a good guide on stage, wherever we perform this concert. And it just is it's a beautiful thing. It's a delightful thing. And I have so much fun working with different conductors like you all over the country. And as somebody who really cares about culture in our country, who cares about classical music and live classical music, and also about travel and about helping people in the United States open up and celebrate the diversity in this world, and remember, everybody doesn't have the American dream, but everybody has a dream. And there's a lot of good dreams on this planet, and we can celebrate that and not be threatened by it at all. So my hope is that this will inspire people to reach out and recognize that, yeah, other people have their own things that, hit them emotionally and that make them feel really good. And our whole lives can be carbonated by this understanding that the more we travel, the more we reach out, the richer our lives will be. And that can certainly be musically as well.
Well, that's a great place to end it. Thank you so much, Rick. We're so excited to present this, and the context that you give the audience is so helpful. But also, we live in a very visual culture, and it feels so great to hear this music and feel as if we're sort of immersed in it from both your thoughtful comments and from these beautiful visuals. So I think it's a really special concert.
Great.
And I really appreciate you expanding it to the world that you have so that it could come to the Dearborn Symphony, because you could do this with the Boston Pops all day, but it's nice to bring this to neighborhoods.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
excited.
and Stephen, I sure appreciate you taking this symphony in a suitcase on its maiden voyage. And I'll be with you in spirit, that is for sure, as you take Europe, a symphonic journey with you and me, kind of being the tour guides and the musical direction. So best wishes, Stephen, and thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Happy travels.
This concert is November 7th at 7:30 p.m. at the Ford Community and Performing Arts Center. Thank you so much, Rick. DearbornSymphony.org for tickets. And of course, it's ricksteves.com?
Yeah, ricksteves.com and
ricksteves.com for more information about all the incredible work that he does. What a great musical humanitarian you've turned out to be, Rick. This is so great. Thank you so much. And I didn't know you were a pianist. I'm gonna have to.
I'm surrounded by so many great musicians. When I go on the road for these symphonies, I'm kind of stay in my lane. I'm a tour guide, so I can do that really well. But I get great joy out of playing the piano. And we'll tell a story at the symphony about how when my uncle visited me when I was just a little kid, my mom said, "Rick, play the piece by that Norwegian composer on the piano." So I played Wedding Day at Trollhättan by Edvard Grieg. And my uncle from Norway was so thrilled that his little American nephew could actually appreciate and enjoy Edvard Grieg that he gave me a very nice gift. And I thought that the real gift he gave me was planting the seed to bring that joy of different people sharing and celebrating their culture's music with each other. And that's what we'll do with Symphonic Journey.
Thank you so much, Rick. And we'll see you all at the Symphony November 7th. Thank you.
Bon voyage.